My next guest is Minda, and she's with a company called Vytality. Vytality, Vytality.
That's right.
If you're at home and you're wondering, Jason, why do they spell these names wrong? They're faking it till they make it. They can't get the .com. It's locked up by some domain broker. And so there is a time-honored tradition of misspelling or creatively spelling your domain name, and yours happens to be a .co company, Vytality, Vytality.co, and it's a social app for caring, period.
That's right.
Okay. What exactly does that mean? Is it a gratitude journal? Is it for caring? Like I go care for my elderly grandmother?
Now you're approaching it.
Okay.
So Vytality Health is a social support network for anyone with health or caring goals, especially caregivers, elders, and patients.
Got it.
Yeah.
So there was a company, Home Hero, I was an investor in, and they would manage, and there was another one, I forgot the name of it. We had Seth on the program. I forgot the name of his company. We'll look it up in his honor. And they actually hire the healthcare providers and send them to the house to take care of people. What do you do exactly?
So we're a different approach.
Yeah, it seems like it.
Think of it like a social media play. But instead of hearing all about those political memes and people, bragging about their travels, people are sharing their health and caring goals.
Got it.
Yeah.
This seems very world positive. So instead of going on Instagram and having FOMA or trying to incite FOMA in other people, or instead of going on Twitter and arguing about which terrorists are worse or which hysterical, crazy political party is worse, you go on Vytality and you say, hey, I want to be less depressed, less fat, more run a faster mile, and then you support each other?
Basically.
Wow.
Yeah. So we found that when people share their health goals, their caring goals, or anything that really matters to them, you're more than twice as likely to actually achieve the future you're creating.
So, and I agree. Right now, I'm in a weight bet with two of my friends. We're all fat. We want to be less fat. And we talk about our fasting, and we use Kevin Rose's Zero app. I introduced them to it. We take screenshots of it. We put it into our iMessage group, and we talk about losing weight.
Yep.
And it is magical because I don't want to disappoint my two friends. So yeah, there is something to being in a Fitbit steps competition or sharing your weight. How do you make money?
Well, we're structuring it like an AARP-like membership platform.
Got it. So you're going to charge a subscription.
That's right. We'll have that. And we're going to charge for transaction fees for connecting you with really great organizations and vendors who can really serve whatever your specific needs are.
Okay. That probably won't work, but the subscription will, is my prediction.
Okay.
It's a little complicated to try to cut all those deals and try to get a little bit of a percentage from those companies. And it's very hard for a company to have multiple revenue streams. If I had to pick one, you were my sister and we're having like a heart-to-heart talk, taking my investment hat off, I'd say pick one that you think you're capable of executing on and that will be the clearest path to victory. And the other challenge I have with your business is it for weight loss? Is it for mental health? Which thing? Because sometimes when you try to do all things, you wind up doing nothing.
Right.
So I almost feel like Vytality, if it was, just three things to start: your blood pressure, your diabetes, your weight, your sleep. I don't know what the common conditions are that you could really steps. I don't know. But you'll figure that out. What's your biggest challenge right now?
Well, our biggest challenge is building our community at the same time that we're building the tech to support it. We're still pre-launch, unlike the other folks.
Sure. So what you told me was a grand vision. What I think is a better approach is to pick one piece of the grand vision, the first step on the journey, and make sure you nail that first step. Because right now, there are specialists in each and every vertical. So on my phone, I have All Trails, which I pay for, which are the, trails. Yep. I have Zero, which is a fasting app. I have Fitbit. I have the Apple Watch. And I have a Weaving scale. So I have like 5 different things I've paid for, subscriptions I pay for, or I have Calm, and I have Fitbod.
Wow.
So I've got like 7 of these, and I think I pay for 4 of them or so, right? And you, by trying to do all of those things, will not be able to, with the screen real estate, do a better job than Kevin Rose is doing with Zero or Calm is doing with meditation. The world wants focus.
Mm-hmm.
So I think you might want to slow down and think about taking out 90% of the features and keep it to 1. Yep. So if you feel that you have the most insight into anxiety, and this is a very acute problem, or gratitude, or feelings of despair, or weight.
How about just leaving the hospital and just being newly discharged and not being clear about what services are available to you?
Okay, that still feels broad.
Okay.
So I would even narrow it down. What is the number 1 condition people leaving from the hospital need help with? Because you're talking about compliance and drugs and all that. Mm-hmm. And I know there's a whole cohort of startups that do just that. I have been pitched on, here is a pill box that opens and closes, and it's a smart pill box, and it tells the doctor if you open and close it, and that makes the medicine. So there's like somebody working on that. Right. Then there was that company that made that I think Amazon bought, which made the pills in a packet. So you only open that 1 pill packet every day. They were launched at our event. I didn't invest like an idiot. They got bought for $1 billion. So I was like, so let me understand your business. You put my daily pills in 1 packet as opposed to me taking the 6 pills and putting them in my mouth. Like, that's dumb. And it turns out I'm the idiot, because I didn't believe it. So I think, what do you mean by discharge compliance?
Well, I'm not talking about the hospital side, but I was a traumatic brain injury patient with a great job, great insurances. I actually had 3 insurances because I was in a cycling accident. I flew over the handlebars of my bike.
Oh, my God.
And despite all that support, there was an entire cycling team with me, and someone saved my life in the team.
Wow.
Revived me. And it was a really serious accident. I had left parietal lobe hemorrhage.
Oh, my God.
Yeah. And even with my wonderful family and friends, I was still not clear on what was available to me. And I had to schedule 8 different doctor's appointments. I had to find out which doctors were the right ones to go to. I was bedridden, and my brain was damaged. So it was hard for me to coordinate all these things.
Okay. So now I'm starting to get a better idea, because this is when you explain your idea and you give an example. We always train people in our accelerator that examples matter, and the more illustrative the example, the better. And you just gave the ultimate illustrative one because it's personal. And now we're like, oh, you flew off the handles. You were with your cycling team. You had a hemorrhage. You were passed out and they had to revive you. So this was life or death. And so now we really understand, okay, now, and you also presented a specific problem. I didn't know what was available. So this gets more interesting. What should I do after a specific type of injury, and what's available? Well, that's a different thing, and that could be more interesting. So,
I mean, often people have to have 20 different conversations to even answer one of those questions.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So this is interesting, and there are a number of different approaches and formats to solving problems like this. One of them that's gotten very popular is telemedicine. There's a number of companies that will allow you to get prescriptions for things that are embarrassing maybe to go to the doctor, and they'll do it virtually. And whether it's erectile dysfunction or hair or UTI, whatever, there's a bunch of these companies. And what they've learned is answering the questions, 20 questions, having the doctor then give you your Viagra or, UTI medicine. Antibiotics is just more fluid, and more people will actually get help than going to the doctor and sitting there waiting. So I wonder, that's one modality. That's one technique for handling that. Another is community. People pay for community. And so a community of people who have had brain trauma, and a community of people who are suffering through one of the hepatitis, one of the, cystic fibrosis. I have a family member who's has that. And these are very specific things where the medicine moves very quickly. and slowly, but there's a lot going on, let's say.
Right. And there's often patient organizations that are
Yeah.
dedicated to this work and understand those deeper needs. You know, Finney Friend Foundation in Parkinson's is a really great example of organizations like that who help folks like this. And so we have a whole ton of these different kinds of patients with specific needs. What if you could bring them all online?
So you've got something. Now you have to productize it. And one of the things that you sort of brought up as your problem is like, how do I productize? I want you to look into the new trend. It's called a no-code startup. No-code startup. We've seen a half dozen of them apply to the accelerator. What it is business people, designers, idea people are able to hack together something using existing tools without ever writing a line of code. So, as an example, you could make a Patreon today using the Patreon platform. That's $10 a month. And you could interview people with 2 microphones like we're doing right now and interview a doctor every week and ask them questions, or just a guest who's suffering from, let's just take brain trauma as your one, or cystic fibrosis. And you could see if you can get 100 people to pay $10 a month. That's $1,000 a month. That pays for all the production. And you say, okay, does this need to be in an app? And if so, what would that look like, right? And some people are doing this with Facebook groups. They'll test a Facebook group, see if they can get to critical mass there. See if they can get to critical mass on a Patreon. See if they can get to critical mass on a Kickstarter. You get the idea. And then they can start building glue between these things. So there's a company called Mighty Networks, Mighty Bell. I don't know what they call themselves today, but we tested that. It's very cool software. And you don't need to write the software. So you might spend all this time and expense writing the software and hire 3 developers and spend $500,000. You may have done that already.
Well, I have something to share with you.
Okay, go ahead.
I actually have a staff of 30.
Okay,
and we're entirely bootstrapped group of employees and apprentices who really care about this problem.
Okay.
And they care about health, and they're all coming from people who had cataract surgery, people with
so you have volunteers who are doing this on the weekends and nights.
That's right. And we have a front app and a back end. And they've done an amazing job.
Yeah. So that's fantastic. That's one of the nice things that comes with picking a vertical where there's a lot at stake, is that the enthusiasm and the kindness, the empathy, the caring that humans can show for each other in the moment of need.
Absolutely.
You don't need to do marketing. The fact that you're listening to people and helping them is the marketing. It's going to spread virally. So I would think about the subscription business. And if you've got cystic fibrosis or, whatever it happens to be, spending $100 a year to be part of a community and knowing that pays for what we used to call in the community days the list mom, which is a non-gender specific term, hashtag trigger warning gender wars. List mom could be a guy or a they or non-binary, just a term that was used in the early days of the internet. What a list mom used to do is manage a listserv. I don't know if you remember these days. But
I totally remember those days.
You remember, yeah. And the list mom would just make sure nobody was being a jerk on the... It's kind of inaccurate because moms are supposed to make sure you're not acting like a jerk, so it's kind of accurate. At least that was my mom's role in Brooklyn. And they would just, if somebody was acting like a jerk on a mailing list, which would ruin the experience for everybody, this is before they had the term trolling, they would just put that person, the list mom would put them on moderated, which meant when they emailed the list, their email went into a queue. The mom looked at it and said, you know what? That was a little bit hostile. You want to take a second shot at it? I'm going to go ahead and delete that one. If it's really important to you, go ahead and rewrite it, and I'll give you a couple tips, but you probably don't want to call that person a socialist asshole in the first sentence. So
list bomb.
Or a capitalist mother effer. Like, go ahead and this is what list moms used to do. And it's why the internet was so delightful. And we all had such an amazing expectation of the internet because we had mods.
I should out myself as a former list mom.
You were? I was a list mom too. All right. Listen, I'm fascinated by you, Minda. I'm glad you're alive and you survived this craziness. My God.
Thank you. Me too.
The world is so fragile. We're so fragile.
Yeah.
And you made it out.
But I think people really connect and feel that fragility. We're sparking a community of helpers who really want to help others.
Yeah. It's like deep, good work.
Yeah.
Hey, what do you know about life post flying over the handlebars that I don't? Share it with the audience. If you had to think about what changed and how you look at life, the one thing, what is it that you now know?
Well, I think that is, people are often faced with creating something from nothing. You know, when you have faced death, I remember looking at literally my life falling to pieces when I saw death. It was pretty wild. And how do you rebuild from that point when you think you're going to be disabled for the rest of your life? And I really thought that my life was over. But what I found is that as long as you can communicate in any way, any kind of communication, if you can dialogue, you have everything you need.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's heavy.